Hey guys, it's your girl Kizzy Rock, and yes, Kizzy Rock is my birth given name. Happy Tuesday! Want to say hey to all my subscribers, new as well as season. I got a word for you. Tap in. Happy Tuesday morning, guys. So I want to talk to you guys about two different things. First, I want to speak to you guys about getting ahead of God, and then next, I want to speak to you guys about consequences and actions versus emotions. So let's start. So I had someone that emailed me a couple of weeks ago, and she was asking me. She's new to her journey, so she was asking me if I could give three things, if I could narrow things down to three things about the journey that's most difficult. What would that be? And I think one of the things I said was definitely fear for individuals who struggle with fear in general. That would really, really, really be a struggle because there are so many things that God will call you to do that's very fearful. That's really not my thing overall, but I had very, very fearful experiences. And then I think the other one, I forgot what it was, but getting ahead of God without a doubt. And this is not everybody's struggle because some people lag behind God, which just is bad. But getting ahead of God is one of those things that will have you frustrated, anxiety filled, broke, lost, confused, fearful, doubtful, full of despair, depressed, and the list goes on. Trust me when I tell you. So, as I stated before, I've learned a lot of things, but one thing I've learned is getting ahead of God is where a lot of people get it wrong. Another thing I've learned is that I don't care how much you want it. I don't care how many times God has promised you it. I don't care how much you cry, kick, and scream. That will not move the hand of God if it is not the season for it. Ask me how I know. Ask me how I know, right? I mean, thank God. I mean, I'm finally in due season, but I'm speaking from experience here, right? Those of you who have to always have your hand in something for whatever reason, right? You're just a doer. You will not move God's hand if it's not the season. Yes, God made you the promise. He did. But he never told you when it would be. There's a whole process after he makes you the promise, right? And how you respond to that process determines sometimes how long that process will be. But anyway, why does it make you frustrated? It makes you frustrated because, again, you see it or you heard it and you want it. So it's like, just give it to me. Right? Why would you promise it? Just give it to me. So you start getting ahead of God. And now when you start getting ahead of God, God will literally back up. Seriously. God will literally go silent on you. Like there's been times where I felt like God came back and tapped me and said, all right, come on, let's go. Right? Then I started moving at his pace. But then I started moving too far. and then I'm looking back like, Lord, where are you? Right? And he's back there because I'm not you have to really find that balance and that rhythm where you hear from God and you are literally side by side. Not side by side. He's in front of you, but you're right behind him. But you cannot get ahead of him. It's gonna be anxiety filled because you're getting ahead of him. He's that grace ain't really wherever you are trying to do it ahead of him. So you're full of anxiety. But when you're walking right behind God and he's in front of you, like it's like he goes before you. So you're just following in the footsteps. So then there's no reason to be full of anxiety because he's already cleared the path. But when you're getting ahead of him, right, you're doing it without him. So that's all you, that's all flesh. Broke because you're getting ahead of him and you're trying to make things happen on your own. So you're now trying to pay people or pay to have certain doors open or pay for this and pay for that. And truth of the matter is, if you're allowing God to go first, listen, God will open doors that money can't open or buy. Now you do hear people say, I've heard a lot growing up that with God you don't need no money. Listen, you I've heard people say that, like seriously. But some people again are not perspective thinkers, so when they say that, it's almost like with God you don't need money. So sometimes people tend to think that just means you will never ever 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 need money. No, you're going to need some money, but it's true with certain situations God will open doors that money cannot buy. I promise you. But there's going to be times where you need money, but God will supply that money in order for you to do whatever he's calling you to do. But you will need some money at some point. Money is the tool. Confused. You're confused because, of course, you're getting ahead of him. So it's like, well, you said this. You said, come on, where are you? Is it you? Is it familiar spirits? I'm confused. It doesn't make sense. I don't understand. Why would you say this? And I'm just confused. No. You may be confused. It's just really, you're getting ahead of him. Fearful. Of course, again, there's that grace is not really in that moment. So you're jumping ahead of him. Now your knees are buckling. And again, even when you're following his footsteps correctly, you're still going to have fearful moments. Again, push past that fear. Doubtful because you're ahead of him. Nothing is looking like what he promised in that moment. So because you're ahead of him, you're like, well, it can't be because I'm looking around and nothing adds up. So is this really God? So now you're full of doubt, and it's not that it wasn't God, it's just that you're ahead of him. Depressed and full of despair, all that stuff falls really under that same umbrella. But guys, please take it from me. Please take it from me. If you're newer on this journey, or even if you're like, in the thick of the process, and it's like you are ready to turn back because you really feel like you didn't hear from God and that was not God, please understand that it could very well be God. It could very well be you are on the correct path, but are you getting ahead of God? Because I promise you, God will literally stop in the middle of the path and he will allow you to go. He will convict you. But what happens? Most times we ignore those convictions because we want what we want. So you hear the convictions like, no. Slow down. It ain't time for that yet. No. I said it's going to come through me, meaning I'm going to give you the download, or I'll give the person the download to open the door. But here you are trying to force the door open yourself. So do what you do, boo. Right? So you hear the conviction, but you just want what you want when you want it, that you ignore the convictions and you're getting ahead of him. And he's just chilling in the cot, looking at you, make a fool of yourself. And let me just tell you, getting ahead of God will have you looking like a straight fool. I promise you. And so at some point, you'll get it. You'll get it. Your flesh will get tired. And you'll get to the point where you just throw your hands up. Now, and this is a process, right? A whole process. But you get to the point where you're just like, I don't even know if I... Never mind. I almost said something. I don't want to speak something into existence. But you get to the point where you're just like, all right, it is what it is. Honestly, it is what it is. And then when you chill, right, your hands is up off of it. You're back in purpose or serving someone else or whatever you're doing. Then all of a sudden, when you're minding your business, you feel this acceleration in the spiritual realm. And it's like, woo, I don't know what's going on, honey, but God is moving. And what's the Bible verse? You guys help me out because y'all already know me and Bible verses. The vision is yet for an appointed time. It will sure no, it won't sure tarry. The vision is yet for an appointed time, and it will surely speak. And it will hasten at the end. Something like that. You guys help me out. You guys know I'm more download spiritual versus scripture. Even though the scriptures are now starting to make sense, I really struggle with trying to remember them. But I do know it's something in reference to at the end, like right towards the end of the promise. It's so true. It hastens. It is like, it's nonstop. It's like the things that the download you saw throughout the process, like just random little sporadic downloads, at the end, those things literally fulfilled and manifest, and it's back to back, back to back, back to back, back to back. And it's like you now see the whole picture versus the its and bits and pieces and the delays and the frustrations and it all makes sense. It all makes sense. And it's better than what you thought in your own head. Settle yourselves down, as Bishop Sam would say, settle yourselves down. And for some of you, my 8 personalities, like myself, you know it is the most difficult thing. But don't beat yourself up, right? Do what you do, because I promise you, you'll get tired. You'll get tired at some point. And you'll be willing to take your hands up off of it. Next, consequences in action versus emotional escapades. So, my emotional beings, these are typically my empaths, my very HSP, highly sensitive people. Yes, that's the thing, highly sensitive people. Individuals like that, you tend to be more reactive, right? Because your feelings get hurt more easy. You feel everything. You're very empathetic and sympathetic and all these stuff, right? So that in turns make you more reactive. But in this season, well, really, it should have been forever, but whatever. More than anything, in this season, God is going to start requiring you, if not, or convicting you to start moving with consequences and actions versus emotions, right? What does that look like? That's 1,000 different scenarios. I don't know. Let's take a child, for example. Your child is just cutting up for whatever reason. I mean, just straight wilding, straight cutting up. And when the child comes home, you're constantly yelling and screaming and throwing things and just reacting. Foolishness, right? Well, the world would say it's foolishness. It's just our emotions, and it's just not properly in place, I guess. But instead, when that child comes home and the teacher calls or whatever, right? The same scenario, acting crazy, acting the fool, no yelling and screaming, no throwing things, no acting the fool, right? Consequences and actions. All right? Your teacher called. I'm not about to sit here and act a fool with you. However, 3 weeks, no phone. Don't ask me no questions about it. In fact, don't even ask me about the phone, because if you ask me about the phone, it's going to add another 3 weeks. I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. Have a great day. Or to those of you who are dealing with these cheating people, man or woman, listen, we're not even about to have a conversation about cheating, right? We can have a conversation about, I don't know, something petty, I guess, several times at that, because nobody's perfect. But that's a deal breaker. We're not going to have a conversation about cheating, right? You cheat, listen, I'm not yelling. I don't even want an explanation. Like, there's no conversation when I have the video in my hand. When I have the video, I say video because it needs to be solid proof versus you just listening to somebody. But I have the video in my hand, right? I'm not yelling. I'm not keying your car. I'm not doing none of that nonsense. I'm going to give my keys. Sir, you have a great day. In fact, have a great life. I promise you I'm not mad with you. Block. That's it. Consequences and actions. Why are we full of... Nobody's doing that in this season, right? We should have never been doing it before. But the point is, when God starts to elevate you, you got to move with consequences and action. Your emotions ain't just going to do it no more. Ask me how I know. I want to share that with you guys. You guys have a great day. And yeah, it's your girl, Kizzy Rock.